Can I beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Scarlet using only new Paldean Pokemon? Since I've already made a video about the storyline, this one will mostly just focus on the major battles in the path to victory. Before we begin, let me know in the comment section who is your favorite Paldean Pokemon. Maybe I'll use them here. The first decision Chico has to make in this run is who to pick as a starter. Last time I chose Fuenco, and I really liked him, actually, especially with Torch Song. But today, I'm going for the Grass Kitten. After Nimona picks the Water Duck, I break into her ginormous house and see that she has servants, both human and Pokemans. Dang, I'm a bit jealous. Nimona pulls a Johnny Russo and tries to beat me up on the beach, but the very lamely named Gato and I easily win the fight. Being a Nuzlocke, I can only catch the first Pokemon I find in each area, meaning the first Pokemon I see is the one I'll go for. Assuming they're Paldean, of course. In Pokepath, a Lechonk encounter is forced, so I catch the Cerdo. After some monster rudely eats my sandwich, we travel through a cave and see a number of Pokemon I could catch, but none of them are unique to Paldea, so they're dead to me. But the Fido in the next area is not. Welcome to the team, Masa. Then it's another rival fight, but this is also relatively simple. I use one Hone Claws to take out the Quacker next turn with some leaves. This brings out her Terrapami, who survives a hit, but not a second. Well, that was easy. By the way, for whatever reason, in this game you can't actually turn on set mode, but I'll just pretend that it's a thing. I do some boring school stuff, but no one cares about that. Let's start the fights. After pointlessly pushing this giant olive into a net for some reason. Like, seriously, what's the point of this boring game? And I'm sorry for offending all of you Olive Ball players out there. I'm sure there are dozens of you. Against Caddy, this fight would be simple with a Fuenco, but I have a trick up my sleeve. And that is a pile of salt. After some intense polishing, Terrasol outspeeds the Nimble and one-shots with a Smackdown. The same thing happens to the Spider too. Last is her bug Teddiursa, whose Fury Cutter actually does a decent chunk of damage, but also falls in 2 Smackdowns. In case it wasn't clear, I have no qualms about terrestrializing. It's still a new thing, so I want to experience it a bit more before I ban it. In preparation for Gym 3, I know, I'm getting ahead of myself, I take a detour to the desert, hoping to find a ground Pokemon. Instead, I find this thing, whatever the heck that is. I'll try to use him later, but for now, he's above the level cap. Okay, time for Gym 2. After rounding up Sunflora, Brassius is yet another gym leader that would be super easy with a certain Fire Croc. Oh well. I lead with a newly evolved Gato, and after setting up 2 Hone Claws, take out his Petal in 2 bites, making it flinch too. Nice. The small Olive also takes 2 bites. Last is his Terrasudowoodo, who is pretty concerning, actually. My bite doesn't do all that much, as he raises his speed with a Trailblaze. After a few more bites, I get down to 7 HP, and I need to swap. Probably should have done that earlier. I bring out Pero, who avoids a Rock Throw, does a bit with Bite, and takes a Trailblaze in the process. And here, I make a bit of a foolish move. I use a Scary Face because I'm getting concerned with all the speed boost, but a Bite would have certainly been a better option. So it's time to swap yet again. This time to Masa, who may not survive a second Trailblaze, but I don't have a lot of options here. He does survive with 4 HP and does nothing with Bite. Okay, someone is going to have to die here. The only question is who. Cerdo, the Lechonk, comes out to die in 2 Trailblazes. Man, this tree is faster than the Dickens right now. As long as he doesn't crit, Mono the Mankey should be able to finish the fight with 1 Seismic Toss, which is exactly what happens. Okay, that was a rough fight. I didn't plan that out very well, and it totally showed. I'll do better in the future, I promise. And if you're wondering, Mankey is obviously not from Paldea, but since he does have a new evolution, I'm okay with using him. The next encounter I get is Cyclizar, who moves way too fast. He leads me around like an idiot. But he's Dragon type, so hopefully Bicicleta is worth the catch. I evolve Jalapeno using a Firestone into a fire grass thing with 2 heads. Alright. When I arrive at the 3rd gym, my overpossessive rival appears and wants to keep me all to herself. But since it's relatively easy this time around, I'm just going to jump to the gym challenge. After all, I've been training for this type of challenge since elementary school, with books like Where's Waldo and I Spy, so it's a piece of cake. Though I still think Iono and her super sharp teeth are scary, I have no choice but to fight. Saul starts the battle against her Wattrel, and after 2 smackdowns, knocks out the bird, only taking a bit of damage in the process. Her belly bolt is a bit concerning, so I pivot to Gato on a water gun and set up 2 Hone Claws, which I'm hoping is enough to one-shot this guy. But a Terrestrialized Seed Bomb doesn't even get close, and I get hit really hard by a Spark that also paralyzes. Thankfully, I had a Cherry Berry, and I knock it out next turn. Her Luxio does intimidate me, but I still have a +1 attack, Overgrow active, and a Terra Boost, so I think I can take her. A single Seed Bomb does the trick. Last is her really scary Miss Magius. I swapped to Bicicleta, as the now Electric Ghost uses Hex. But since Bicicleta is also normal, it does nothing. A Breaking Swipe does a bit less than I had hoped, and I get confused, which I should have seen coming. I mean, at this point in the game, the guide I'm using only has the gym leader Pokemon and levels, not their movesets. But that's no excuse because ghosts love to confuse. Still, I get lucky, hit through the confusion twice, and win the battle. Kofu must have heard how great I'm doing with all these gyms, except for the second one, because he gets scared and runs away. Time to chase him down, I suppose. Apparently, I needed to be knocked down a peg, because against Kofu's assistant, my Tumbleweed is outsped and dies in a single bite. That was basically the first time I used him, and he immediately died. Well, I was too overconfident, I suppose. The rest of that fight is easy enough with a Terrestrialized Gato, and I then do Kofu's dirty work by bidding on some gross seaweed. But this time around, I get to keep 5,000 Pokédollars, so that's something. On to the next fight, Kofu starts with Velusa against my Sappa, the Belly Bolt. I get hit to supercharge my electricity, Terrestrialize for good measure, and take out the fish with a single Spark. His Wugtrio similarly gives me a boost, and similarly dies. Kofu's Water Crabominable does a decent chunk with a Crab Hammer, but if Sappa had died, I wouldn't have cared all that much, to be honest. It's harsh but true. Still, she survived the hit and takes out the crab with another supercharged Spark. That was an uneventful 4th gym, granted, but we're halfway to the Elite Four. In preparation for the next gym, I need to get over these mountains, but Corridon doesn't know how to climb. Now, I could go and defeat a Titan to learn how, like a normal person, or I could just jump backwards right up the mountain. That's a normal thing people do, right? Either way, I make it over this hill, which I shouldn't have been able to do, and get Drain Punch, which I'm hoping to use for the normal gym. Oh yeah, I also evolve Mono into Annihilape after using Rage Fist a bunch of times against super weak wild Pokemon. The next gym test involves ordering a super secret menu item, but I remember what it was from the last time, so that was a piece of extra crispy grilled rice balls. Are crispy rice balls even a thing? Okay, let's go to the gym. Larry starts with a Kamala, who hits the newly evolved Mono with a Sucker Punch, but then falls to a single Drain Punch as Mono gets fully healed. Nice. Next is the Dun Dun Spars, but this time I do have a guide with their movesets, meaning I have a Lumberry to heal his glare and knock him out with 2 more Drain Punches. I haven't Terrestrialized yet, and there's a reason for it. Against his Staraptor, I bring out Saul as the bird Terrestrializes and uses a super weak Aerial Ace, and I heal with a bit of leftovers. Then I tank a Facade to hit with Salt Cure, which does a bit of damage every turn. I pivot back to my Ghost Monkey on another Facade, take about half my health from an Aerial Ace, and then win with a now Terrestrialized Drain Punch. Man, I am blowing through these gyms. I eat some of those crunchy rice balls, and immediately have another Nemona fight. This one is also super easy, but I still want to show it. The Lycanroc immediately flinches my monkey with a bite, which is actually pretty awesome. I decide to lose the Ghost type to take less from another bite, and get fully healed with a Drain Punch. Against the Goomy, I go for a couple of low kicks, which he obviously survives, and get hit by 2 pretty weak Dragon Pulses in the process. And then I use another Drain Punch. The Palmo falls to a single Drain Punch as I get healed again. This is why I wanted that move. It's awesome. Last is her fully evolved Water Duck, but since Rage Fist gains 50 power every time I'm hit, it's now at 250, which is more than enough to take out the duck. That move is sweet. At the next gym, I run into some dude who says he's my teacher, but since I haven't stepped foot in that school since the start of the game, I don't know him at all. Though he gives me a lucky egg, so he can't be all that bad. I sledge up this DJ for the gym test, and Chica evolves into Tinkatong. I'm actually a really big fan of her steel fairy typing, and I plan on using her a lot in this run, especially with her Gigaton Hammer move, which is a 160 base power steel attack. As a silent protagonist, I somehow defeat Rhyme in a rap battle, which makes her angry enough to attack me. I lead with Gato and Pero, coincidentally the first 2 Spanish words you learn. They break Mimikyu's disguise, take a few hits, and kill the Sableye with a Terra boosted Crunch. For this incredible strategy, both my pokes get an Omni boost. This is going to be really easy. Rhyme's dead dog barely survives my cat's Night Slash, but my dog takes out the Fakachu with another Crunch, bringing out Toxtricity as I get attack boosts. Nice. Gato re-deads her undead dog as my dog just uses another Crunch to finish the fight. What did I tell you? That was super easy. Oh, and my undead dog, who did absolutely nothing, by the way, evolves. Good for him, I guess. And then I have yet another rival fight. She just doesn't take no for an answer. It goes pretty well until I underestimate her duck's ability to walk on water. I, stupidly, allow her to use Aqua Step twice, getting 2 speed boosts, and have nothing to show for it. Hoping I'm not about to lose my starter, I bring out Gato to take another Water Step and an Air Slash before responding with a Flower Trick. That always gets a crit, by the way. That was too close, and it was a really poor showing. To relax from that almost loss, I do some exercises, if you can call them that you can just cheese through by pressing all 4 buttons in quick succession. It's not that difficult. Against Tulip, I start with Pero against her Farigiraffe. As I set up a Hone Claws, the Giraffe hits an extremely powerful critical Crunch, doing 20 whole damage. Oh yeah, he dies on the next turn. The Gardevoir is next, unfortunately, so I bring out Chica on a Dazzling Gleam, Fake Out, just because I can. Either way, this fairy can't do much to my fairy, and I take her out next turn. Her Psychic Ostrich uses Shadow Ball, which Pero tanks like a beast, no pun intended, and responds with a Crunch for the knockout. That's basically the only move that Pero has used in what feels like forever. Her Fairy Flower could totally have taken out Pero if she didn't make it Psychic type. But she did, and so it dies. Tulip doesn't realize that you shouldn't always terrestrialize your Pokemans. What a noob. After some of the most high-speed snowboarding you ever did see, it's time for the very last gym leader, Grusha. He leads with Frostmoth against Mono, who takes him out in a single close combat. The Ice Bear, as well as the Ice Whale, both fall to a Drain Punch each. Last is the Ice Altaria, who Mono should kill with another Drain Punch, or not. And I barely survive a Hurricane. Okay, that was stupid. I was sure Drain Punch would work, but I could have just used Close Combat instead. Now that I'm confused, I bring out Chica, who tanks a Hurricane, also gets confused, but hits through it to take out the Altaria. Well, that was a poor showing for the last gym. I should have just used Close Combat on everybody, but I didn't think it was necessary. Still, I am glad that Mono didn't die, because I have some pretty big plans for that monkey. Slightly creepy Nimona is ecstatic that I now have 8 badges, and she says she'll be rooting for me at the Elite Four. So, let's get going! After finding my very first Generation 9 Shiny. And even though Psyduck is not Paldean in any way, he's a Shiny, so I have to catch him. That's basically the rules. Anyway, I passed the easiest test in the world that I certainly did not fail on my first playthrough, you can't prove anything, and begin to fight Rika. She starts with Wishcash against Bicicleta. I basically just want to show off his awesome move, Shed Tail. This move creates a sub and lets me swap places, so I send out Gato. But the sub is immediately broken by a Blizzard. In the off chance it had missed, Gato would have swept Rika's whole team. An Expert Belted Flower Trick is more than enough to take out the Wishcash, as well as the Camerupt, who comes out next. The Donphan, however, has Sturdy, and if I had been able to set up grassy terrain earlier, then a 2-hit Bullet Seed would be a guaranteed kill. As it is, I'd need 3 hits to kill him, which is likely, but not guaranteed. So I don't want to risk it. After all, this Donphan has Poison Jab, which doesn't affect Chica at all. She also has an air balloon to avoid getting hit by an earthquake. This lets me use a Fake Out and a fairly weak Gigaton Hammer before the Donphan breaks my balloon. Anticipating an earthquake now, I pivot back to Gato, who tanks it, and can now kill with a Flower Trick. I did consider starting this fight already in Overgrow range, because then I could have killed the Donphan, but this Dugtrio has Sucker Punch that could have killed me if it crit. Anyway, I take him out with another Flower Trick, and then use one more against her Clodsire. The grassy terrain strat would have been pretty nice, but I can't rely on Blizzard missing. That would be a disaster. Next is Poppy, the Steel type user. I begin with Sol, whose only job is to run away, but that baits out a high horsepower in the process. This lets Mono come out, get hit, and then get fully healed with a single Drain Punch. Out comes the Corviknight, so Mono runs back to Sol on what I thought was a Brave Bird, but Iron Defense works too. After taking a pretty strong body press, Sol uses Salt Cure, which does very little, but will actually deal 1/8 of this bird's health every turn since he's Steel. So naturally, I stall with Protect. And then I bring out my Still Ghost Monkey to avoid the body press and respond with a Drain Punch for the knockout. Against the Bronzong, a Drain Punch won't kill, but a now 100 power Rage Fist will. That's why I needed to bait out that elephant's high horsepower. The Magnezone has Sturdy, so I use a Rage Fist just to deal some damage as he sets up a light screen. Well, that was a wasted turn on his part. And because I know she's going to Terrastalize, I do the same and win with a very unnecessary close combat. I learned from that Altaria moment against Grusha. Things are going really well right now. It would be a shame if somebody messed it up. Cue Normie Larry. He starts with Tropius against my Pero, but I taught this old dog a new Ice Fang trick that just so happens to be 4 times effective against Tropius. The Staraptor is out next and gives me a free attack boost thanks to Guard Dog, meaning a Terra Crunch is just enough to take him out. The Altaria is also 4 times weak to Ice Fang. Oricorio, similarly, falls to some ice, bringing out his last Pokemon, the Flamingo. Thankfully, because the AI doesn't understand type advantages, Larry thinks it's a good idea to lose the fighting type here, allowing me to kill him with one last crunch. Oh, did you expect something dramatic to happen there? I was just subverting your expectations for a more interesting rep. And we're going to need it, because I'm gonna be honest with you right now, the next fight is kinda boring. I initially wanted to sweep with Bicicleta after using a Shift Gears, and he could probably do it, but I couldn't find any Hobbenberries to decrease dragon damage, so it's not reliable. Instead, I start with another Shed Tail against the Noivern, bringing out Chica on what is obviously a dragon move. Now this bat does have Infiltrator, so he'll attack me through the sub, but that's okay. I lose half my HP to a Super Fang, but heal a decent amount with a Drain Kiss. Next turn, after another Super Fang, a Gigaton Hammer takes out the bat. This brings out the Poison Dragon, who doesn't actually scare me that much, because I'm Fairy and Steel. After using Protect, I can hit again with the Big Hammer as the dragon breaks my sub. We do the same thing with Protect, and then another hammer for the knockout. The Haxorus is a perfect opportunity to heal a bit of HP with a few Expert Belted Drain Kisses, as he does a bit with an Iron Head, but I was never in any real danger here, even to a crit. The Flapple is an even better chance to heal, as he wastes his 1 turn using Leech Seed. That misses. Even if it had hit though, it wouldn't have really mattered, to be honest. He falls in 2 kisses as I get fully healed, just in time for the Baxcalibur, who unfortunately loses his ice typing as I hit with my very last hammer and take some damage from Brick Break. Here, there is no longer any point in remaining a Steel type, so I Terra Fairy Drain Kiss, take almost nothing from another brick, and finish off the battle with full HP. While that was a really simple fight, I did warn you it was kinda boring. It basically boiled down to some Expert Belted Kisses with a few hammers for good measure. With the last Elite Four member down, it's now time to face the champion. Greta starts with her Psychic Ostrich against Pero. She outspeeds and sets up a Reflect, which really sucks, actually. I mean, a Terra Crunch still takes out the bird, but it's going to hurt my plans for the next Pokemon. Out goes her Go-Goat, who doesn't take too much from a crunch, thanks to the Reflect, and responds with a Play Rough. As long as I don't get crit though, I can take another hit. Instead, she goes for a Bulk Up, and then falls with a few more crunches. That wasn't quite what I had planned, but things are working out okay. Against the Iceberg, I bring out Mono for free as the Reflect wears off. An Expert Belted Low Kick doesn't quite kill him, allowing me to get hit by an Earthquake. A second kick though finishes him off. Then, this King Gambit is the perfect opportunity to, you guessed it, get fully healed. Thanks, Greta. Not that it should really matter if the rest of the battle goes according to plan. The Psychic Fish falls to a Rage Fist that was powered up because of the Earthquake. Last is her ace, Glamora, who becomes pure Rock type, allowing Mono to finish off the fight with an overkill close combat. There was a bit of hiccup in that fight for sure at the very beginning, but overall, things still worked out pretty great. You might think that after beating the top champion in the world, I can rest easy, or just take a small break. But no, my very toxic rival rears her Goku-like head and demands one last battle. So, for the last time, hopefully, I need to prove myself. I start with Mono against her Rock Dog. I don't want to kill him immediately, as you probably know why, so instead I decide to use Rage Fist, as he wastes a turn with Stealth Rocks. Come on, man, hit me! He obliges with a critical Drill Run that makes Nemona so proud, but I get healed and knock it out with a Drain Punch. Next is her Palmot, who I actually don't want to hit me. I outspeed and kill with an Earthquake. I try to get hit by the Dun Dunsparce too, but he just sets up a coil. This is not going how I had planned, so it's time to Terra Drain Punch. Her Worm, unfortunately, requires a close combat, lowering my defenses. I had hoped to have a stronger Rage Fist for the Goodra, but since I haven't been hit enough, I need to use another close combat, lowering my defenses some more. Her last Pokemon is a Terra Quack, and again, I need to rely on a close combat that barely misses out on the kill, meaning that Mono, my good friend who has carried us on this run, dies to an Aqua Step. On the very last Pokemon, I lost probably my favorite team member. That's rough. But I am glad that I was semi-prepared for the Duck this time, unlike last time. I send out Gato with a Choice Scarf to outspeed and win the match with one last Flower Trip, surprising Nemona, even though it's a guaranteed critical hit. After squashing her dreams for the last time, Nemona can't handle it anymore, and she breaks down to cry. And on that note, we end the game. Growing up, I was never a huge Mankey fan, but now that he has such an awesome evolution, I kind of love him. But that just makes it that much worse now that he's dead. Dead again, I suppose. Since this has already been my second Scarlet video in the last few weeks, I want to take a bit of a break from Paldea and kick it old school. That's right, we're going back to Kanto for a very holiday run, so be on the lookout for that. Thanks for watching!